Now that we covered most features of the Tor browser, I want to spend one more lecture talking about the security settings, what do they change, and how these changes affect our privacy and anonymity. We can access the security settings from the shield icon in here beside the onion that we were using in the previous lecture. If this shield is empty, it means the security settings are set to the standard settings. Clicking on it again will show you the security level that you have right now, and as you can see, I'm at standard. If you want to change this, you can click on advanced security settings in here. You can also access this from the options menu like I showed you in the previous lecture. So you just go here, you go to options, and then go to privacy and scroll down to the security levels. So as you can see, we have three main, very simple security levels. Right now, we're set to standard, which is the default. This option will make Tor browser as usable as any other browser, just a little bit slower, but it'll allow you to access everything. All content is available, scripts will not be blocked, so it'll make all websites very nice and usable, but it is not the most secure setting, especially if you're using Tor browser on Windows, which is not a very secure operating system by default. So, cranking this up to safer will disable JavaScript on HTTP pages. It will also disable some fonts and other HTML content, so it might make websites function slightly different than normal. They might look slightly different than normal, but it'll be a little bit safer and more private. And then if you crank this up all the way to the safest, it'll disable JavaScript on all pages, even HTTPS pages. Obviously, all traffic will be forced over HTTPS because Tor comes with HTTPS everywhere. Videos will not play by default. A lot of other HTML content will be blocked to make sure that you get the highest levels of security and anonymity out of this browser. Note how changing the security level in here changes the icon on the top right. So in the future, when you're using Tor and you're not sure what level you're in, you can simply look at the icon. If it's full, that means you're in safest. If it's half full, that means you're in safer. And if it's empty, it means you're on standard. You can also just click it to see exactly what security level you're on. So now that I'm happy with my level, I'm going to keep it at the safest, and we're going to close this. And I actually want to show you the results of some tests that I did for the three different security levels. So with the basic or standard security level, I use this website right here, and I'm going to include its link in the resources of this lecture. Basically, this website runs a number of tests to see how much information your browser is given about you. So as you can see with the standard, the browser is blocking ads. It's not blocking invisible trackers. It blocks parties that honor the do not track promise. This is fine. This is good. And finally, it does not protect from fingerprinting. So it's telling us that the browser has a unique fingerprint. And at the bottom here, if you read this statistic, it's telling you that among the more than 200,000 browsers that were tested on this website, our browser appears to be unique. So it can be used to basically identify us. And in here, it's telling us that there are at least 17.84 bits of identifying information that can be gathered by literally analyzing our browser. Now, I've also run the same test after changing my security level to medium. And if you come here, you'll see that my browser is blocking tracking ads. It also has partial protection against blocking invisible trackers, which is again very similar to what we had with the standard. We can also see that our browser blocks acceptable ads. It still blocks parties that honor the do not track. Like I said, this is fine. And finally, our browser still has a unique fingerprint. Now again, if we click on the show the full details, we can get the statistics. And again, it's saying that our browser is still unique, and the browser is given 17.84 bits of identifying information. Again, it's actually identical to what we got with the standard. Now finally, I cranked my security all the way to the highest, similar to what I have right now, and I ran the same test in here. And as you can see, the results are much better. So again, browser is blocking all tracking ads. This is fine. It was happening with both standard and medium. Then it's also blocking invisible trackers. It's not accepting the do not track commitment. Like I said, this is fine. This is good. And finally, when it's saying, does your browser protect you from fingerprinting? This is yes. So this is the main thing that's different here. If you look here and it says no. And in the standard, again, it was saying no. So our browser had a unique fingerprint, whereas right now it has a less unique fingerprint, if you want to think of it that way. So looking at the statistic here, it's saying that only 1 in 114 browsers have the same fingerprint, whereas before we had one unique fingerprint among more than 200,000 browsers. Not only that, but our browser now only gives 6.84 bits of identifying information, whereas as shown before, here and here with the two medium and low security settings, it was given 17.84. So with the high security settings, you're given much less information about your browser and about yourself in general. Now you can actually scroll down here after clicking on more information to see where exactly these bits of information are coming from. So you can see the user agent of the browser is revealing 3.74 bits of information about you. You can see the HTTP header here revealing the language used along with more information. Again, this is accounting for 1.58 bits of info. Going down, we can see the browser plugins are revealing information, the time zone, even the screen size and the color depth. And that's why I said don't maximize the screen, because if you maximize it, this will give the true size of your monitor, again giving even more information. And if you keep scrolling down here, you'll see exactly where each bit of information is coming from and giving us the total of 17.48 in this example when we had the security at medium. Now you might think, big deal, so what if my browser is given 17.84 bits of information? What does that mean? Well, according to information theory, this information can be added together in order to identify you. In information theory, information is measured in bits, and according to this formula right here, we can calculate the amount of information a certain fact, such as your browser plugins, can reveal about your identity. Like I said, this is measured in bits, and adding all these bits together can be used to identify you. So, at the time of recording this lecture, the population of Earth is around 77 billion. Plugging this value into this equation right here, we can see that in order to identify a person on Earth, all we need is 32.8, so nearly 33 bits of information. So when searching for someone, we start adding the bits of information that we discover about them one by one, such as their language, their location, the browser they use, and so on. Once we get about 33 bits of information, identifying this person will become relatively easy. So, going back to what we had here, you can see the browser in the medium security settings is already revealing 17.8 bits of information about you. So all that's left is only 15 bits of information, and locating you will be relatively easy. Now, granted, some of the information that we see here is incorrect, such as the screen size, because we don't have the screen in full screen. But you get the idea. The more bits that your browser is given about you, the worse, because these bits can be used to locate and identify you. So if we look at the high security, we can see we're only revealing 6.84 bits of information. And as I said before, some of this information is incorrect. So it's a pretty good start. And again, as we go through the course, we're going to talk about more advanced methods of protecting our security and anonymity.